Amanda, so good to see you again. How are you?
Still here.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, last time you were the one that gave me that answer. You said I'm doing was your answer.
Oh, I said I'm doing. Yeah.
James, pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Likewise.
We're going to start. Amanda's a question that I've always wanted to ask you. Never had the opportunity, but I do because we're talking about a scary movie. Are you a fan of scary movies, scary stories? I myself really don't like the horror genre because I'm a scaredy cat. But I'm now asking you, are you a big scary movie type person?
Yeah, since I was little. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Remember that? The original. I mean, that was it was so epic for me. I loved camping and telling people scary stories. I loved it. I loved it, and I love the genre. It is the first thing I look for on Netflix when I want to watch a movie.
James, same question for you. Are you a scaredy cat like me, or do you like the scary movies?
I'm like you.
Really?
Yeah, I never really did the horror thing, and my partner's really into them, and I'm a big scaredy cat. Or I don't get scared enough. Either or. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes I'm just like, it did nothing for me. So I think, it's not my first point of call, but it was really fun being in one.
Yeah, especially during Halloween because we shot around Halloween.
That was really fun. Yeah, and especially being from a Brit, we don't really do Halloween like you guys. So being in America in the Hudson River Valley with Amanda, who's like Mrs. Halloween, it was impressive.
Even your directors just told me that. I mean, based on the book, was based on while this is not a true story, it was based on like true events. Like there was a murder that happened. Like your directors went on and on about how the author did this, and I'm like, I think this kind of adds to the whole scary part of this story. So Amanda, I'll ask you that question. What scares you most? No spoilers in this interview, but what scares you about this story?
The fact that it's the most realistic part of the story is that, the dynamics of a marriage. It's not easy to be, marriage is like a real, it's, ebbs and flows. And this marriage in particular is terrifying. And I think it's really hard not to see the reflections of your own life in this marriage. And luckily I don't have the same type as our characters, but it is, I think, it's I think that's the scariest part of it. And that was the point. And then all the supernatural stuff surrounding it really just deepens the effect, I think, which is why I love this script so much.
I do as well, but no offense, but if you all as a couple have a dinner party, I don't know if I'm going to take that invitation based on what I saw in the movie.
Yeah, no, you can cut that tension with a knife. Nobody wants to be there.
And maybe if F. Murray Abraham is there, I love seeing him in this movie. James, I'll ask you the final question. I'm still sleeping with the lights on after seeing this movie. Okay. A couple of 3 more days and maybe I won't have to, but when you shoot a scene, and there are plenty of scary scenes in this, do those stay with you as an actor? Like later in the day, do you think about them and like, wow, that's really creepy?
To be honest, the creepier scenes, as Amanda was saying, are the scenes, the ones which kind of leave an impression are the ones where they're closer to home. So maybe you've had an argument and you've lost your temper to the point where you've become physically violent with a woman. That kind of freaks you out. Whereas the stuff which on the screen is kind of the jumps and the shock horrors, often is you have a kind of all the special effects. So often it's actually not very scary because there's a kind of once removed, you've got all the other sort of things which are kind of filling in. But certainly the stuff when like that scene when we're driving along and he's stoned and they get out the car and he throws her down the bank. And, I know I've lost my temper and I've never thrown a woman down a bank, but, that was the scary part, as we said, is the relationship isn't that different in those early parts of the film from people we know and probably ourselves sometimes. So keeping that in check.
I think it's funny that this was the most I'd ever laughed on a film set in my life.
Yeah. I agree.
Really?
Yeah, like I was so when we stopped shooting, I was like, even a year later when I was driving across the bridge because I live up there, and I was remember I was like texting you guys being like, I'm really nostalgic right now because my body, like my visceral experience of this movie was not of anything like terrifying. It was about the fact that there was so much release because there was so much laughter. It was so crazy.
Yeah, people say that the higher the stakes and the more sort of disturbing the movie, often people naturally offset it by just having a lot of fun. And we did have a huge amount of fun.
I mean, I think it made a difference that it was you. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'd be laughing as much if it had been, you know.
By the way, just for the record, I'm really, a conscientious and serious actor. I don't, piss around all the time.